Welcome to the Mobile Armored Podcast Show, the podcast that transforms into a semi-autonomous city-state. I am Adam Moore, alongside my co-host and best friend, PJ McNerney. PJ, how's it going today?
I'm doing well, man. This is an interesting episode, a couple different realms.
Yeah.
I feel like we get to hit History Corner, Science Corner, and Legal Corner all in one go, quite frankly.
I agree. And also, this is the first episode where I felt downright sad for Miles, that he's basically doing contract work.
Yeah, I noticed that too. It's like, like his investments in like junk bonds aren't working out at the moment. So now in order to afford giant submarines, he has to like do some contract work.
Maybe Matt should let him get away with one of these schemes of his.
I mean, if they want the game to keep going, Matt, throw this guy a bone at this point in time.
Seriously. Well, episode 18 is where we are. It's called Bad Vibrations. Venom threatens to destroy buildings in Hong Kong with a sonic weapon. Let's go.
This is interesting because we're going to actually see they don't threaten to do so. They actually do it.
Yeah, the threat would have been a very Venom thing to do. It's like, let's take down a building and then threaten the world that they'll destroy whatever, the White House, if they don't get whatever. But no, they never threaten. They just press go. We open in Hong Kong, and it's lovely. And then we cut to an office building, and we learn it's the dedication of this office complex to Matt Trakker. The guy leading the dedication ceremony says, "In recognition of his many cultural contributions to our city, it is my pleasure to dedicate Hong Kong's newest office complex to Matt Trakker," because nothing says thank you like an office complex.
I love like the implication around the cultural contributions, because it's just really clear like Matt's just shelled out a shit ton of money
Right?
to the city. I really felt like what they wanted to say was, "We want to thank Matt Trakker for all the work he has done to offshore jobs from the U.S. into Hong Kong. This office complex will serve as the hub for many of those jobs, many of which are due to shell corporations for Trakker Industries."
Yeah, no, he uses the factories in Duke Windsor's country to build the stuff. All the money is offshore to Hong Kong. And really, it's just a way to launder the money so he can build his paramilitary group.
Which actually, it actually fits, because I wanted to baseline the audience on History Corner, because at this stage, Hong Kong was still part of the British Commonwealth, or formerly the Empire. It was established as a British colony back in 1841, and then they obtained some weird-ass, no-rent required 99-year lease in 1898. Which I feel like the British were like, look, we're going to do this, but we know we're going to take over, because that was like the height of the British Empire at that point in time. But yeah, it actually makes perfect sense that, he's laundering the money from the factories in England over into Hong Kong. It's brilliant.
Yeah. If you thought Iran-Contra was complicated, he's sending money through 5 different countries and cities. There's no way to trace this paper trail, which you'd have to if you're running a rogue paramilitary organization. You can't just take the money from the bank and go down to the local automobile transformation shop and get yourself a stock Camaro that flies. So clearly he's up to no good.
I mean, the PNA apparently gives him a free pass on whatever taxes he's supposed to be paying.
Dude, he is the PNA. Let's be honest. I mean, let's stop beating around the bush. The PNA is something that Matt funds.
Whoa.
To give him the cover to go do what he wants to do.
Wow, what an accusation. A billionaire running his own paramilitary group is actually in charge of this Peaceful Nations Alliance? Bold words, sir. Bold words.
Back to the dedication ceremony. Scott, Alex, and T-Bob are in the audience, and Scott says to a random woman, "He's my dad. I'm his son." And he sounds like a 4-year-old. It's like Dora the Explorer.
He totally did. Let's play this one out a little bit. Scott is painfully unable to interact with other people. Like right now, he's hanging out with Alex, whose most of his interactions is with animals, not in a good way. So if you're a person who's on the outside witnessing the treatment of Scott from Matt, you probably do have to be explicitly told, "That's my father." And in which case, that person would come to one of two conclusions. That child is a liar, because no one would treat their child that way. Or I need to call protective services for the sake of this child.
Well, and then T-Bob chimes in, I'm his robot.
The look that character has is just horrified, and it's just the weirdest thing in the world. I don't know why, unless she's coming to full grips with the fact that this child's life consists of a neglectful father and, like, this robot.
Yeah, I'll post this photo on Instagram for everyone to see. She is straight up horrified. At least someone is horrified by it. This might be the first person in the whole show who's legitimately horrified by the situation that Scott is in. So thank you, nameless Hong Kong woman. Really interestingly, it's time to cut the ribbon. And then, like, Matt whispers to the guy. Then the guy announces that Matt and Scott will cut the ribbon, which is really interesting. Matt actually wants his son on stage to cut the ribbon. So they cut the ribbon, but as soon as they do, the building starts crumbling and falling apart, which is yet another thing to blame on Scott.
Do you think Matt knew it was going to happen ahead of time and he wanted, like, a fall guy?
I know Venom's in the area. Something's going down here. I'm not taking the blame.
Scott, get over here.
He's underage. They can't try him as an adult.
Scott, if you actually look at it, has a really earnest response. It's like, I get to help?
Yeah.
Really? And it's just such unexpected excitement. And it's like, Dad's paying attention to me. And Alex is like, right, lad. And it's such an honor, too. Not knowing it's a setup.
Yeah, but there's genuine love, it seems, between father and son here.
Yeah, he's actually, like, getting... And then when the building starts to crumble, like, Matt has his arms around him, like, rushing him out. It's actually... He cares for him.
Is it he has to do it in front of certain crowds? I don't know. It's hard to tell why Matt does what he does when he does it regarding Scott. Everyone's safe from the crumbling building, and a voice says, "Attention, everyone. That will teach you to..." And I couldn't tell what the line was. Could you figure it out? It says something about fatherless children.
I think he said to think less of either fatherless or motherless children. I couldn't quite make that one out.
I couldn't figure it out at all. But something about fatherless children. There will be destruction all over Hong Kong. At last, I will have my revenge. And Scott asks, fatherless children? What's he talking about? And Matt, of course, says nothing. And it's like, the Masked Writers, you're just making it way too easy for us, too. Like, you just threw a pitch right over the plate, and we're going to swing on it.
I have expected someone to be like, you, Scott, he's talking about you.
So it turns out that an old abandoned orphanage was torn down to make way for the new office building.
Did they verify it was abandoned before tearing it down? Did they make sure it was empty?
Scott is really freaked out, though.
He's got this, like, look on his face that really, maybe he realizes, like, how short his life is and how he nearly died moments ago. And I wonder, like, is this his moment of change? He's going to change his ways, adventure seeking and thrill chasing?
Doubtful, because I think it's going to pass. I think that will pass. Everything will return back to normal, and he'll go back to his equilibrium state, which is having a semi-death wish. Alex finds a hollow rock amongst the rubble with some kind of like a sonar imaging device that he, for some reason, brought to a building dedication.
Yeah, it looks like a giant gun. It looks like a giant Decepticon laser gun, but he brought it to a building dedication because that's just what he does. And how in the exploration of that rubble did he find a hollow rock?
And then they bring it to Rhino and they drill it open. T-Bob says, Alex's drill sure is powerful. Turns out it's a diamond-tipped drill.
And he's like going to town on this rock, basically, trying to get through it. And it struck me as, this is a legitimate crime scene. I mean, a terrorist just brought down a building. And apparently Matt, being a billionaire, gets to take whatever the fuck he wants. Like, he's a foreigner, okay? And he's like, I'm going to take this rock with me now. And everyone's cool with it.
Hey, he's paid for the whole thing, so he can probably do whatever he wants.
This is my building.
Alex drills the hole in this hollow rock and then says, now hand me the wax carefully. But Matt doesn't hand it to him. He just shoots the wax into the hole in the rock. It's like, what are you doing, Matt? Do you even have any idea what this procedure entails?
He's like, no, I got this. I know what to do. I just thought he was very excited to shoot hot liquid into a hole.
The wax mold, it turns out, is a pyramid, which Alex says must be some sort of an electronic device. Can I just back up for a second here? It's a hollow rock. He drills a hole in it and then fills it with hot wax, lets it dry, and then breaks it open to reveal this mold, and somehow he knows it's an electronic device? Did this make any sense?
I was like, what? Because if it's true that it melted inside, then there would be some kind of sludge at the bottom, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is, like, instead of trying to, like, figure out its original shape, which, by that point in time, it could be random, you'd probably be better off actually analyzing the metals just to be like, okay, we're picking up some silicon that was here.
Yeah. But how did this device get encased in a rock in the rubble from a collapsed building?
I'll give, like, the most, like, generous answer I can. It's the thing heated up to a sufficient point where it could melt rock, but not the metal itself. And then once it was sufficiently encased in said rock, it melted itself to death.
I love how much credit you give the writers of the show. You're so kind. You're so very kind to them.
I'm steelmanning the argument for them because actually that's just what they did a couple episodes ago. Like, we brought in Alex because of his metallurgy skills for the Golden Goddess.
Right.
Why not here?
Well, we're about to bring in another expert because we have the agent selection scene. First up, Gloria Baker, champion race car driver, black belt in Kung Fu, Team Hottie, and knowledge of structural engineering. Since when? By the way, I'm not saying she can't be an expert in structural engineering, but since when?
This is, I'd say instance 4 of basically a new piece of information about a mask agent that we never knew before. We're about to get instance 5 in a second. We've had Buddy with his underground connections to crime. We've had Hondo somehow being like an expert on ancient Aztec architecture back with the Creeping Terror. We've had the metallurgy bit from Alex back with the Golden Goddess. And now we've got Gloria Baker, has knowledge now of structural engineering. So, like, they're kind of like just throwing out whatever they happen to need, maybe for that particular episode. I'm not sure they actually make use of her knowledge, though, in this. It's great if you do that, but it's a Chekhov's gun. Now you have to pay it off.
Except for her ability to run around a mall and navigate an elevator.
Which I feel like that is a poor example of structural engineering.
Indeed. Second on the team, Dusty Hayes. And we learn stunt car driver with a number of prior assignments in Hong Kong. Anyways, he gets the call. We cut to outside the pizza shop. He is holding a ladder for someone else who is atop the ladder cleaning the awning over the pizza shop. The call comes in. Dusty runs away. Then some dogs and cats come running by and knock the ladder over, sending the guy like flying off the ladder. He is very badly hurt or killed, right?
Yeah, that guy is dead. And what was funny to me is that he actually doesn't run away. He actually casually saunters away without telling the person he's leaving. And this guy is standing on the one place you always see in a ladder that says, do not step. And it's clear like he needs someone to make sure he's okay. And Dusty's like, meh, I'm out of here. And just very casually, quietly walks away.
I love that there's like roving packs of feral dogs and cats in this town.
In front of the pizza shop. Alex Sector's pets.
Yeah. Speaking of Alex, he is not selected for the team.
Yeah, I felt like this was definitely an awkward conversation time. Yeah. And I wonder what actually does have to go down, because it's not as if it's every instance we've seen where it's like the person not selected, or the person who's is not selected. We've seen a few times like Bruce's thumbs up, like, hey, I'm here, buddy. So like every single time it happens, does Matt have to try and smooth stuff over?
Probably. Or it's a very awkward conversation. We see a shot of the masked jet taking off and in flight, which is nice. Continues the world building of the fact that that's how they get around the world.
Yeah, it's a cool shot of the jet taking off. And as a time check, the flight time from Denver to Hong Kong is about 17 hours.
Matt's just hanging around with Alex.
Right. Awkwardly.
Going to the casinos.
And we can trust that probably Scott is either sightseeing or in his hotel room again.
Yes, indeed. Finally, the team is gathered around a dining room table. It turns out the device was a resonator bomb that can destroy things with a sound frequency. And it turns out the plans for this device were stolen 6 months ago from a Swiss research center. They don't know who's behind the attack. Not even the computer knows. Oh, but we know, don't we, PJ?
We do. But let's call it out. There's something actually interesting here because Mask has actually been called in without even the knowledge of Venom or the direction of the PNA.
Matt just wants revenge for his building being destroyed. This isn't about anything but pure revenge.
I was going to say that Mask will investigate crimes even outside Venom and the PNA, but you're right. Maybe this is an example of Matt has a completely important personal vendetta he's going after here.
Exactly.
So it is worthwhile to chat a little bit about the science behind this.
Let's go.
So can you shake a building down like this? So we're going to go to Science Corner for a second. So can you destroy a building like this? And the answer actually is yes. So every structure has a resonant frequency, and that's basically the frequency it naturally oscillates at. And what it means is that if you hit a structure or a cell or whatever at this particular frequency, it will create this constructive feedback and start retaining that energy, and you can keep building and building, which means, practically speaking, if that oscillation continues at that frequency, then it will start to shake for real and stuff will eventually collapse. So this is important on things, let's say like movie theaters, for instance, where you don't want to play a given frequency where it's make sure we program that frequency to always be skipped. So yeah, this is actually something that is plausible at the very least.
Okay, there we go. You heard it here first, folks. Resonator bomb works. Well, Scott is trying to eavesdrop on this meeting, but T-Bob has the hiccups. So Alex has programmed T-Bob to feel pain, fatigue, and now we have hiccups. And also, I'm going to add to this point that to cure T-Bob's hiccups, Scott shoves a pillow over T-Bob's head and face as if to suffocate him.
I thought he was going to say something like death. Death is the only cure. But then again, how do you kill that which is not alive? And you're right. Why would Alex program this into T-Bob? I do want to point something out. Scott's presumably in the same hotel room as Matt. Matt's meeting with the mask agents. And Scott seems like he's hiding in the closet because he's presumably not to be part of that meeting. So I was either Matt doesn't know where Scott is since he isn't in the same hotel room, or Matt made Scott go into the closet. This, one of two ways here, basically. He's either neglecting him or he just said, go into the closet and don't listen to anything.
Yeah, but it's not even a solid closet door. It's one of those slatted doors that you can see through. Well, we have another great Father of the Year nominee coming up here because Matt discovers Scott and T-Bob eavesdropping behind that door. Scott is super excited to help with the dangerous mission, but Matt tells him he'll have to go sightseeing instead in a city under threat of terrorist attacks. Good job, Matt. Father of the Year.
I was wondering is it possible that Matt is starting to see that Scott has some kind of supernatural ability to find the bad guys and get into trouble? And so Matt's actually hoping that Scott leads them there to said trouble?
That's a big stretch.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, it's either way, it's child endangerment. And then Matt says to T-Bob, the robot, I'm depending on you to keep an eye on Scott and make sure he sticks to sightseeing. Do I have your word? What are you doing?
How good is the word of something that's not alive?
I kind of wondered if T-Bob's hiccups come from being drunk. That said, drinking is due to the pressures he's under from this billionaire to keep this son alive.
Yeah, well, he's drinking that poison from the other episode. He got a taste for it. We cut to a Hong Kong gangster in his upper floor office, and he's giving instructions over the phone for a restaurant to be destroyed. He says, "I'll teach them to fire a busboy on his first day on the job." What a petty son of a...
It really was. I mean, especially as I didn't realize it. We'll realize it a little bit that he's actually referring to himself.
Yeah.
But at the moment when I heard this, because you don't have any information on this guy, I just thought, is this guy some sort of like extreme Marxist? He's like some fighter for the poor at all costs. Like it's some other random busboy. And he's like, no, this is wrong. I will teach this capitalist restaurant a thing or two by destroying the building.
It's not a proportional response at all. You
really
fired a
isn't.
busboy after one day because he was probably terrible and he dropped all the plates and glasses. And so what you're going to do is destroy the restaurant.
Look, man, he went to the Dusty Hayes School of Plate Management.
We cut to Slyrax, first time we see a Venom agent, and he is planting the resonator bomb atop the restaurant building.
Yeah, I was wondering if, in deference to some earlier episodes, like, did Miles check, like, Sly, did you take acid today?
It hasn't kicked in yet, boss. I got 20 minutes.
And, you know, like you said earlier, this is the first time we see Venom acting as goons for hire.
Yeah.
They're actually the henchmen and not the ones pulling the strings this time.
Yeah, it's super sad, and he's doing it for like $1 million and $2 million a pop. Like, this is not Venom style at all.
No, we've fallen from the $3 billion he was asking for the Statue of Liberty.
How the mighty have fallen. Meanwhile, Matt, Gloria, and Alex are out patrolling the streets when Alex's seismograph goes off, indicating that a resonator bomb has been activated.
Matt's got a great line, and I was just like, Gloria, any action on the south side? Which I just felt like it was a weird line.
Matt, we're busy on a job right now. Let's not talk about that.
This game that these two play, will they ever get together?
We cut to the restaurant, and it is shaking. People inside, they're freaking out. Matt tells Alex to go get them, but Alex delays by making an elevator joke. He's like, fifth floor, T-shirts, or whatever he says. Dude, they're going to die. Just go. Like, just go get them. So he uses Jackrabbit to fly up. He rescues the chef of the restaurant. Not sure if any of the other people in the restaurant are saved, by the way.
Yeah, this is definitely a WTF, Alex. Like, come on. Those other people are probably dead. But I was wondering if this is like Matt knows this is like a Michelin-rated restaurant, and so the chef needs to be saved at all costs. Fuck everybody else, but this guy is the magic maker.
That's Matt's MO 100%. Well, the building collapses. So long, Golden Dragon. And meanwhile, Scott and T-Bob are out sightseeing, but Scott is tired of being a tourist. He wants to help Dad. He says, I bet Venom's involved. And T-Bob responds, Venom, that's all you ever think about. Like father, like son.
I realize Scott and his dad actually have two things they're both obsessed with. Venom.
Yeah.
And Gloria.
Yeah. Yeah.
And since his,
right.
His mother figure is an adrenaline junkie, he of course wants to get involved.
Yeah. Scott needs help.
He does.
He really needs help. We hear the gangster's voice. The golden dragon had risen so high, but on the sweat of others. Now that sweat has extinguished the dragon fire. Once again, revenge is mine.
I'm going to double down. Without any knowledge about this person, once again, the way he's talking feels like a Marxist extremist.
Agreed.
And I'm wondering if he's presaging the People's Republic of China's takeover of Hong Kong.
Again, the proportional response is not there. It's a busboy. No. And now he's taken revenge on an entire restaurant. Meanwhile, we cut to Dusty, who's been off doing whatever. Don't know where he was. But he spots Slyrax. Dusty chases after him. There's a smoke bomb thrown at Dusty. He uses backlash to clear out the smoke bomb. Matt catches up to Dusty. Sly uses stiletto to pop Gator's tires, so you can see we're right here in the sort of mid-episode Mask Venom battle. But then Dusty goes off the road, goes through a barn with chickens, and over a cliff. He's about to crash into the water. He's a goner for sure.
Yeah, when you see like the sequence, like Sly basically crashes into some people's fruit carts, and I couldn't tell if he knew he was being chased or if he did so out of just pure spite. And then when Dusty uses backlash to clear that smoke, like we should realize it's a force projection beam. And so, like, do you think doing that into a cloud of smoke's a good idea? Especially where the fruit cart has been knocked over. Like, how do you know you're not going to hit someone?
Right.
And it was amazing to me. Stiletto was used actually for more than just pinning people here.
It popped a tire, and it had a good effect.
Yeah.
But why doesn't he just hit the brakes?
I don't know. When you blow a tire, it's not like it destroys your brakes, right?
Right.
You still have some control. And like careening off of a hill, I would expect you take at least your foot off the accelerator and maybe think about braking.
He's a stunt driver, man. He only knows one way to go, just forward. Or he thinks he's in a stunt gig. Could be that. But nevertheless, he is careening off a cliff to his death. What's going to happen, PJ?
I don't know.
We will find out after these messages.
Mask doesn't know what it's getting into. We'll be right back. Now back to Mask and Venom.
And we're back. When we left you, Dusty had driven off a cliff. He was careening to his death towards the water below. Except, of course, Gator has a boat.
Yeah.
But anyways, he doesn't use that. Matt fires jet pucks that attach to the bottom of Gator, preventing him from crashing into the ocean. Once again, he has a boat. But, okay.
It felt like an obvious time for boat mode. Maybe like one cool way you could have done it is because, again, every action has an equal opposite reaction. If you fired the boat mode right as you're going across out of the cliff, it would actually create a kickback for the rest of the vehicle.
Yeah.
The rest of the vehicle could have actually been safe, and the boat would have just come down. It would have been a cool scene.
It would have been a great scene. And again, it gets me to thinking about the rant I've been on in several episodes of our podcast about the Mask writers choosing agents at random. What I sort of appreciate is that they're trying to justify why certain agents have been chosen. Alex before because he knows precious metals, Gloria in this episode because of structural engineering, and Dusty because he has contacts in Hong Kong. But again, the show is about masks with powers and vehicles that transform to do things. So let's keep in mind when you're choosing the agents for the mission, what we kids really just cared about were the vehicles. So it makes sense for a boat to be in Hong Kong. Ton of water.
Yeah.
Now that we have the boat, let's just go ahead and use it in the scene. Instead of not a Deus Ex helmet this time, but Deus Ex Thunderhawk of firing jet pucks. All right, rant over. We cut back to Scott and T-Bob. Bored, Scott suggests going to the Hong Kong Zoo. T-Bob says, great, I always wanted to hear what animals sound like in Chinese. Congratulations, T-Bob. You have earned yourself a Buddy Hawks Award nomination.
It's so bad. Like, how T-Bob is just continuously like this. I mean, we've seen him with the Buddy Hawks Award, at least nomination, a few times now.
Yeah. He's influenced by the input he receives around him from the people he's with all the time. So, makes sense.
They try to pump this B story again. There's Jackhammer goes over the overpass that Scott and T-Bob are at, and they have this exchange where it's like, Scott, you have great eyesight. And Scott's like, yeah, nothing gets by me.
It's just not funny. It's attempted humor, and it's not funny. And it's not funny for several reasons. One, the sight gags don't work. But two, we are Scott at the age we're watching the show, and we don't appreciate being told we're idiots for not being able to see Venom. Because we know Mask, we know Venom, we have the toys, and if Piranha drove by us, we would say, that's Piranha. That's Sly Rax. We got to go get him. So, no thanks, Mask writers. Return to sender. Well, we are back with Mask, and they are cross-referencing the computer for anyone born in the orphanage and also worked at the restaurant. And it turns out it is Julian Fong, the construction magnate, and the gangster that we saw earlier. And we find out that he's probably the richest man in Hong Kong. And we cut to this two-shot of Dusty and Gloria, who stare at Matt, and then look at each other, and then turn back to look at Matt. And it's all for a very uncomfortably long moment. It's a good 5 seconds that this goes on for.
Did Matt have business dealings with Julian Fong? Or I don't really get why this shot was as long as it was, other than, hey, we need to fill some time.
It must have been that. But I guarantee you, Matt has dealings with Julian Fong, who built the building.
Right.
I mean, it was Julian Fong, the construction magnate.
Which makes it even weirder that he would then tear it down.
At least he knows the frequency. I guess.
I'm going to get to this in a second, but like, I am really concerned from a standpoint of like, oh, we're going to draw a conclusion based on this Venn diagram of people who are at the orphanage and people who worked at this restaurant. I really feel like this is you're getting to some legally murky territory.
Well, look, we watch Slyrax go into sub mode. He drives out to a yacht in the harbor. On board, we find Miles, see him for the first time, speaking to Julian Fong on the phone. He tells Julian that if they want to continue doing business, he's going to have to start paying double. Julian tells Miles, I told you never to use my name. That is not the most incriminating thing, by the way, that's being said on these phone calls. But anyways, Miles is a good negotiator, and he gets Julian to go up to $2 million for the next building destruction.
So it means that right now, Miles has actually cleared $2 million, presumably. Hey, he's putting something in the bank.
Enough to pay for the yacht they're on, I guess?
If you notice the way Sly gets into Piranha at this point in time, like, he's gunning the motorcycle, and then he jumps into Piranha, which launches, which skids around like on the dock before finally going in the water. My question is, what happened to the motorcycle? Did it just like fall into the water at that point in time?
And if I'm correct, we see a fully reassembled Piranha later in the episode.
We do.
That's an excellent question. We rarely, if ever, see the masked vehicles put back together again. We rarely see Gator in boat mode loaded back into the Jeep.
Yeah.
Nor do we ever see Piranha really reassembled because they didn't care.
No, it would have been fun. It would have been fun to kind of see what that reset process is like.
Well, I would imagine it's Gator, it's Dusty, Matt, Alex, and Gloria lifting the boat up, inserting it into, and then pulling the Jeep down. It doesn't seem like it has much of a retransformability. Sly tells Miles that Mask is in Hong Kong. They're on to us, he says. But Miles responds, nothing can stop this operation, not even Mask. I'll make sure personally.
And I'm like, no, you won't, Miles. You will not personally do anything. You're going to send other people out to do stuff.
It's also going against every bit of evidence you have since episode 1 of the show, which is nothing can stop this operation, not even Mask. It happens every episode, Miles. Maybe a different tack, which is, well, you know when to hold them, know when to fold them. Call up Cliff. We're taking the yacht out of here.
We're walking away.
Well, meanwhile, I'm going to preface this by saying it is my favorite moment in the episode and one of my favorites overall in the entire series. We're back with Mask, and the Mask computer is giving the team a psychological breakdown of Julian Fong. I'm not going to try to do it in the computer's voice because I just can't do the same thing. Here's what the Mask computer says.
Psychological profile complete. Julian Fong was a penniless orphan who amassed a tremendous fortune through ruthless business practices. When he was a child, the only place he was loved was in the orphanage. But as a young adult, no one would help him get started in a career. He was fired from jobs and once was falsely charged with embezzlement. Now he lives for revenge. He wants to get back at everyone he imagines tried to hold him back.
The computer says all of that. How? How did it do that? That's on the one level, a penniless orphan who amassed a tremendous fortune through ruthless business practices. That's solid. But to go deeper into like this deep psychological study, the only place he was ever loved was this orphanage. And I also love just the throwaway line of he was once falsely charged with embezzlement. Once? Falsely? I don't know what to make of it.
I want to point out something. What is the degree of sort of information security this computer had to break in order to like go through all the records to really fully understand how to construct this guy without ever having met him?
Huge HIPAA violation anyways.
I actually started to feel for this guy after this. He's been destroyed by life, but he never gave up. He built himself up from scratch. Did you wonder if this kind of social mobility is something that really rankles Matt's nerves? And he'd be like, the poor should know their place, pulling me in a petticoat.
Oh, completely. But also, I got to ask, how is any of this relevant to the case? He's a bad guy. They need to stop him. Do they really need any more information? We do learn that it does help a little bit later, but I don't even know if this is legal, though. Let's go back to the legal corner, shall we?
Can we talk a bit about circumstantial evidence and due process? And I know Matt cares about neither of these things.
No.
But, like, you're piecing this together only on a really flimsy case. And again, we know Julian Fong's behind it, but like from the masked agents, all they know is, oh, this guy was in an orphanage and worked in one of the buildings that was destroyed. Like, I would really hate to be the DA that had to build a case up on that. No, he was fired from jobs. Again, circumstantial. He was once falsely charged with embezzlement, which means that he was never actually convicted of embezzlement. So so now we actually have precedents where he was falsely accused of something, possible like on flimsy evidence. So we're doing the same thing again.
And if this were a court case, and the computer was the prosecutor saying now he lives for revenge, he wants to get back at everyone he imagines tried to hold him back. Objection, Your Honor. Speculation.
Right. Exactly. He is known as the wealthiest person in Hong Kong. So is it really convenient then that Matt actually wants to knock out someone who might be a potential competitor?
Oh, yeah. Trakker Industries will have a stranglehold over the construction deals in Hong Kong if you can knock this guy out.
So I was just like I would be very concerned about like any form of kind of due process. If it happened to be, what if they got the wrong guy? What if it was completely the wrong guy?
Look, you want due process or do you want results? It's the 80s, man. After that monologue from the computer identifies some potential targets based on Fong's biography. It could be Shanghai Bank, it could be Victoria Theater, or it could be the Liberty Center complex. Because it turns out Julian was fired from jobs at each of those locations. So he's really bad at jobs, apparently. And again, what a petty guy. We fired you because you almost embezzled funds from us, Julian. I don't care. I'm destroying the building. What do you think he got fired for working at a movie theater?
Maybe that was the embezzlement right there. Like, you know, he was trying to like charge extra on the side. But again, It was a falsely charged.
Well, he was acquitted. Doesn't mean he didn't do it. They didn't have enough evidence. But anyways, we're going too deep down this rabbit hole. Matt sends Alex, Dusty, and Gloria to go cover each of those 3 locations, while Matt is doing what exactly?
I'm going to take a nap, folks.
He's going to go strike some construction deals now that Julian Fong's about to be taken out.
Someone has to take advantage of the void left over from this industrial magnate.
This is a market opportunity, folks. Well, we cut back to Scott and T-Bob. Scott almost gets run over by Julian Fong's limo, and then he spots a double-decker bus and says, I've always wanted to ride in one of those things. So he heads over to it. He climbs on board without paying, PJ. He just climbs on board.
He doesn't pay for shit, man. He just feels he's entitled to do whatever he wants.
He never sees his father pay for anything, so why should he?
It's also the third thing of this accumulation of a near miss with the bad guy for no particular reason.
Yeah, because they go up on top to the top floor of the bus. The camera reveals that Sly Rax is there as well, only in disguise. But eventually they get off the bus at Liberty Center. Scott saying, this place looks interesting. Does it, though?
It's a mall.
Wow. Okay. Gloria calls Matt to tell him that Scott and T-Bob just went into Liberty Center. Well, let's talk about Sly Rax, shall we?
We got to post this picture because his beret is amazing. Like, he's just, I don't know if he got it from like the Cliff Dagger collection, but he's wearing this white beret on his head. And I was wondering, why is he forced to ride the bus? Is it because he lost the motorcycle? Or
there you go. That's why.
I was just like, okay, you're grounding it basically. Or is the idea that actually the acid now has kicked in and he's tripping so hard that he couldn't control the motorcycle safely?
A lot of corny jokes for each of the locations, huh? As Matt does the check-in with everybody.
Yeah. It was just like, because like they got to the movie theater, is like, there's a cast of thousands, but the villains have not shown up. Terrible. And then they go to the bank and Dusty's like, not really holding my interest. And like, he could have just looked at the camera and winked at that point in time, just to like, you know, that's the only way they could have driven that one home harder.
Thankfully, Gloria is more mature and doesn't try one of those things. She alerts Matt to the fact that his son is now in one of the targets, and she runs inside to find them just in case something happens. We then cut to the interior of Liberty Center here. Sly is planting the bomb on top of an elevator. Like, he goes up into the elevator shaft, plants the bomb on top of the elevator, and says, they'll never find it here.
Yeah, this was... Okay, we're going to go back to Science Corner for a second, because this elevator is connected via cables. So it's not... It has a loose connection to the rest of the building. And you need to be able to hit the building at, like, the resonant frequency. The problem is, though, if you're doing it, like, on that elevator, you're going to create, like, some damped oscillation from the elevator that will just change the frequency when it gets transferred to the rest of the... So worst case scenario, you're going to take out that elevator, but the rest of the building wouldn't actually get hit with the right frequency. I don't think Sly knew this or realized it. He was just like, oh, I'm just going to place it here. But it really wouldn't do much except maybe take out that elevator.
We cut to Scott and T-Bob. They're getting ice cream when the building starts to shake, and Gloria's running around trying to find them. Matt arrives and uses something called Spectrum Jammer to neutralize the shaking and find the bomb. Deus Ex Helmet strikes again.
Spectrum can do whatever the fuck it wants.
So he neutralizes the shaking. Cliff and Sly show up to stop Matt, and here we go, our final Mask Venom battle, the climactic one of the episode. Dusty and Alex arrive to rescue Matt. Backlash knocks both Jackhammer and Piranha over.
Yeah, this is a Sly Rax Ragdoll Award because Sly comes tumbling out in a way that should kill him.
Or at least, paralyzed from the waist down. Switchblade fires on Matt. Rhino fires on Switchblade, damaging the rotors. And Venom all heads back to the harbor. But Miles explains that now it's too late to stop the resonator bomb. And then we cut directly to Gloria, who finds the bomb on top of the elevator and turns it off.
I thought it was hilarious. Thank God this thing had just an on and off switch. Nothing complicated. She didn't have to use aura, which actually would have been cool.
Right. Surround the bomb with aura as it melts off or dampens off or something like that.
Yeah, like that would have been a really cool thing. Yeah. But no, it was just done.
Yeah, not even wires to cut. At least put some wires on your resonator bomb. So anyways, all is well. Matt rushes in, finds Scott, asks, are you okay? And hugs him. Whoa, Matt, fatherly affection.
It's crazy. Yeah? I was like, whoa, all right. Good on you, Matt.
Scott responds, in a way, it was fun, which is more proof that he's Gloria's kid.
100%. This is that adrenaline junkie thing going on.
And then T-Bob comes out, and he's covered in ice cream. And he says, how do I look? And Scott says, delicious. With real desire in his eyes. PJ, this makes me really uncomfortable.
Yeah, this was fucked up. And the look, like the way it was animated is just like, it's like disproportionate. Like, it's like, what is going on here? Like,
it's going to get worse, everyone, so buckle up. So we cut to Mask after the battle, and they're back in like the hotel room. And Matt's on the phone with the mayor. And I will post this photo on Instagram because did you notice that the guy on the phone who's supposed to be Matt is not Matt? He's some dark-skinned, dark-haired guy wearing Matt's suit.
And actually, if you really look at him, he's actually a little portlier than Matt, like ever so slightly, but he's not like Matt's massive muscular frame.
Right.
Look, it's an animation mistake. We know this. But in the context of the universe, I had two theories for this one. Theory one, which is kind of the one I hope it is that Matt is training a double because he wants to go do something else, like take advantage of all those real estate contracts now.
Okay.
Theory two, which seems more likely, is Matt's actually trying to learn from Buddy Hawks to become a master of disguise. And so basically like has done this to himself.
Look at the photo of the three of them staring at quote-unquote Matt. Actually, even Scott. They're trying to figure out what's going on, too.
Yeah. Maybe it is theory one. It's like,
Alex's head is cocked. Dusty's kind of like perked up a little bit. Gloria doesn't know what to make of it. And Scott is staring with a blank face at him. Even T-Bob is just kind of looking at this guy. I mean, are they being held hostage? What's going on in this moment? Anyways. It's fine because when he hangs up the phone, he's back to normal. Julian Fong was arrested trying to leave the country. He confessed to everything. Venom got away. Yeah, again.
Okay, I want to go back to Legal Corner for a second. And because what evidence are they arresting Julian Fong under? Because right now, the only evidence we have of the crime is circumstantial and from Matt's paramilitary group.
Right.
Miles Mayhem, the leader of the terrorist group, sign an affidavit saying, yeah, I entered into a contract with Julian Fong. Here's all the details. They also state that he confessed to everything. So my question to you, Adam, is what tactics were used to get Julian Fong to, quote unquote, confess to everything?
Well, okay, I'm going to take this back to the previous moment where Matt was dressed with different hair and different skin tone. I think Matt, in disguise, went to wherever they were holding Julian, took his mask, watch off, rolled up his sleeves, and got to work on him. And then walked out and said, he confessed to everything. Clean him up. And now he's come back. He hasn't had a chance to, take off the wig or anything.
He got the Wondro treatment from a few episodes back for assault on liberty.
Exactly.
Where are they?
Well, having solved that mystery, Gloria moves on to tackle the other big mystery of the episode. She wants to know how Scott got all the ice cream off T-Bob. The easiest way would have been to clean it off with a hose. But Scott says he couldn't bear to see it all go to waste. So he ate it. And there's this look on his face. He's either ill or disgusted with himself for having eaten it off of T-Bob, or both. But the look is very disturbing. Either way, everyone laughs at him. And then he looks at all of them for a moment. Then he joins in on the laughing to hide the pain that he's experiencing.
Everything about the T-Bob and Scott stuff is just weird.
Yeah.
The entire episode through.
I'm disturbed. I leave this episode feeling disturbed and a bit disgusted by what Scott's been through.
I think it's worthwhile to point out, it just occurred to me that we've established that T-Bob has a motor, which means that it has oil that comes off of it. So
right.
that, and since since the ice cream was really on the lower half of T-Bob, that means that Scott was probably having to eat leftover slick motor oil off of T-Bob. It was just
and rubble from the building, the dirt of the day.
Yeah. Get a hose, Scott.
I'm disgusted for you, Scott. We cut to the more you know, and Scott is soldering a circuit board, and he inserts it into T-Bob, but he sort of leaves the tool unattended, and it causes a fire. Fortunately, the fire alarm goes off, and Scott uses the fire extinguisher to put it out. So the lesson is install fire alarms or have fire extinguishers? What do you think?
I don't know, man. There's no coda to the whole thing, or where Matt could come in to really nail what the lesson's supposed to be. I mean, is it that a 10-year-old shouldn't be using a soldering tool on a highly complex robot? He could have burnt himself soldering. He could have electrocuted himself putting the circuit board in. I tried to think, is the idea that this is the message to the kids? Mm-hmm. So are we saying that the kids are supposed to be lobbying their parents to install smoke alarms? I was like, what?
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. The last line of the episode is T-Bob saying, "It usually is a real disaster every time you try to fix me." Damn, T-Bob, that's cold. But is he wrong?
No. No, he is not.
And so maybe that's the lesson, which is don't try to fix T-Bob. Leave it to the grown-ups.
We have counterfactuals to that one, though, because if Alex is installing hiccup functionality, then maybe no one should be touching T-Bob at this point in time.
Yeah, as well as fear and pain receptors in T-Bob. That is the episode. Father of the Year Award nominees?
Man, this is, again, kind of like the entire episode.
Yeah.
Whenever they go away to a foreign country, it's almost like the entire episode. But if I had to pick on one thing, I think it's what you pointed out earlier, was sending your kids sightseeing when they're terrorists destroying buildings about. That kind of felt like the coup de grace of the episode.
Can't get much better than that. I agree 100%. How about our Buddy Hawks Award nominee?
I think it's T-Bob. I think T-Bob got it.
Agreed.
Once again, I'll say that everyone else was vastly culturally sensitive. We're in a foreign country and we didn't trip that wire.
100%. And we certainly have a Sly Rax Ragdoll Award.
Yeah. Backlash against Piranha sends him sprawling. He should be dead.
Yep. R.I.P. Sly. Well, next up, episode 19, Ghost Bomb. Venom plots to destroy the Panama Canal with a captured nuclear submarine. This could be cool. Will it be?
We're going to find out next week, I guess.
I guess so.
I will have one disturbing statistic to offer up next week, but I will offer it up next week about this episode.
All right. I am looking forward to it. But for now, this podcast has to transform and head back to HQ. I am Adam Moore.
And I am PJ McNerney.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The Mobile Armored Podcast Show is written, produced, and edited by Adam Moore and PJ McNerney.